Hello and welcome to my podcast. My name is Aurimas Kamantauskas. I'm event organizer and founder of Ideas and Trend Festival Revolution, and I have a special guest in my podcast in this festival, Martinu Greenu, who is a producer of London Olympic Games opening and closing ceremony and Eurovision Song Contest in Liverpool. I'm so happy to have you here.
It's great to be here. It's my first time here in Vilnius.
And what is your first impression?
It's beautiful. I mean, we're lucky, aren't we? The sun's out, which is always good, but it is beautiful. And everyone I've come in contact with so far has just been lovely. So I love coming to somewhere for the first time.
How you are hunting these talents and fresh ideas?
It sounds so simple, but if you advertise a job, you're going to get someone through the door who you've never met before, who's going to blow you away. And that's also a diversity issue as well. You cannot make work about the world you live in if your team doesn't look like the world you live in.
Who doesn't know Martin put Queen Elizabeth into the helicopter?
And it was such a great idea that people went, okay, let's do it. They knew that a whole load of people, as long as we got it right, would have a smile on their face, gasp, and kind of fall in love with her all over again, which is what they did. And also a lot of younger audiences went, oh my God, that's not a stuffy thing.
I know that you did this Eurovision Song Contest not only in the simple way that is you are professional, but you also had a big passion.
I've been a fan of Eurovision all my life, both in terms of its spectacle and its fun and its joy. But also, in the UK at least, Eurovision is very much part of the gay community, and I'm a proud member of the gay community, and in the UK we call it Gay Christmas.
Can you still work with low budgets?
No.
Do you keep any secrets only for yourself?
That's an interesting question.
I came from Prague with the message that I met you there and that I'm so lucky that you are available on that days when we are organizing a revolution. So I really was the happiest person in Vilnius.
The stars aligned. The stars aligned.
Actually, how do you feel? Are you a star in celebrity in London? No?
I'm a producer. The place I inhabit is at the back of the room. And that is a very, very happy place to me. I always, people say to me, there's different definitions of what a producer is, but my definition is that I find an excuse to do something, I find the resources to do that, and then I collect a brilliant team, and my job is to protect them and encourage them to do the best work of their lives. And so I am very, very happy off stage, making something.
How you are delegating the tasks to get the best result that you are expecting in your vision?
Well, it all depends on what you're doing, of course, and the project that you've got, where it is, how long it is, what it is. But invariably, there are the same kind of departments that you need to set up and get people to lead, be it, in design or choreography, or particularly if there is an artistic director role in that, which is, finding that person or that entity to do that. Obviously, having been around a while, I know great people now, and I'm very lucky that they agree to work with me more than once. And so there's a few people that when a new project comes in, I call them up and say, do you want to do this? But I'm also really aware that what I also want is to meet new people, particularly younger people who are coming through the industry and have new, fresh ideas. So I make sure that whilst there's always a few people around who know how we work together and know what I want, I want to see new faces in there as well.
Do you have any challenges how to trust these young people, young generation? Or?
No, not about trust, I think. I think what people get wrong sometimes is they think that the only thing that matters is experience. And I don't believe that's true. I think what matters is imagination. And so we can wrap round people and be ready to catch them if they fall and teach them stuff, right? But as long as they have an imagination and they're passionate and they're committed, we can make that work. What I think is important is that we don't judge people purely by their experience. What's important is their passion and their commitment and their imagination. We can wrap around people and teach them stuff, processes and paperwork and the way we do a certain thing. But, you know, I've had, you know, when we did Hull City of Culture, we had a 26-year-old director of marketing because he came into his interview and blew us away. Now, did he know necessarily how to be a director of marketing and what the processes were? No, but that's what we can do. We can support that. Was he a brilliant marketeer? Yes, he was. And so, you know, we should never mistake the two.
But how you are hunting these talents and fresh ideas?
Well, I think you have to keep your eyes open and your ears open. You have to go to stuff. And you also have to listen to other people, because if someone's running in the room and going, oh my God, I just met this great woman or this great person and you should meet them and I think they're brilliant, then fine. I think you also make sure that you're always opening up the jobs you have. So I've worked a lot with public money, and when you're doing that, you have to do proper process, which is a good thing. I've seen too many instances where people are just employing their friends or their friends' friends. But if you actually, I mean, it sounds so simple, but if you advertise a job, you're going to get someone through the door who you've never met before, who's going to blow you away. And that's also a diversity issue as well. You cannot make work about the world you live in if your team doesn't look like the world you live in. It can't be done. And the world we live in has white people and black people and brown people and gay people and straight people and disabled people, and your team must be made up of those people, because otherwise you truly can't make a world about the world, a work about the world. Because when you're making the work, those people have to be represented and present, because they have to be the people questioning the work and saying, I'm sorry, I don't see myself in this.
I always had a dream, and I still have a dream to get attached into Olympic Games. How you got this job?
How did I get that job? Well, I applied for it, is the first thing. It wasn't given to me. But I also am increasingly of the opinion that I happened to be born at the right time, so that by the time the Olympics came to the UK, I was of the right age and had enough experience to even consider applying for the job. So I was working for the Mayor of London, who was a guy called Ken Livingstone at the time, and there was a rumour that we were going to bid for the Olympics, and then we did bid, and I was the head of events for the Mayor's office at the time, and we did the event on Trafalgar Square on the day that we won the right to host the Olympics. And then I realized that there was this job called head of ceremonies that oversaw it. And I thought, when that job comes up, I'm going to go for it. Now, by then, I'd been running events in London for about 5 years. I then left there and went to work for a commercial company called AEG to open a big venue in London called the O2. And so by the time that job came out, I felt that I did have the experience to be able to sit in front of them and say, I could do this. I was also aware there was a whole load of other people going to say that too. But I think that a combination of the work I'd done and the fact that I knew the city very, very well, and I knew the people of that city very, very well, possibly tipped it. But I was still relatively young. I mean, I was in my 30s, and I was one of the, I think I was the youngest director within the Olympic Games.
how many competitors you beat it?
I don't know, but it's a fabulous job. So I can't imagine that there weren't hundreds and hundreds of people who wanted that job. And many of them who would have done an Olympics before. I'd never done one, right? But I have this theory on things like the Olympics that it's important to have people there who maybe have done it before, but it's also important to have people who are of that place, because that makes work that has integrity to that place.
And how many teapots you had with the Queen before you?
How many teapots? Yeah, that was Danny Boyle. You know, again, this is about the team, right? We were unbelievably lucky that when we asked Danny Boyle if he would be the artistic director of that show, he said yes. In fact, famously, I called him up and he was in the desert in America making 127 hours. And he said, the answer is yes, what do you want? He wanted to be part of the Olympic Games. And I said, I want you to be the artistic director. And then he said, okay, come and tell me more. So I went and spent many hours with him, because while he wanted to do it, he wanted to absolutely understand what he was getting into. And I wanted him to know what he was getting into, because it's not just making a show. These are big geopolitical statements with many stakeholders, and I didn't want him to come in blind to that. And it was Danny who came up with that idea, as he came up with every idea in that show.
And who doesn't know, Martin put Queen Elizabeth into the helicopter.
Apparently. It was Danny who did that.
Danny.
Danny came into the office and said, I have an idea about how the head of state should arrive at the ceremony, because it's actually a piece of protocol in the manual. The head of state must arrive into the stadium. And usually they just come in, walk down and take their seat. And Danny had this idea that James Bond and her, or someone playing her, could go in a helicopter. It's online, go and see it. And the thing I learned about working with him is that there are some artists you work with and they come up with these ideas, and in a way, your whole body just wants to say no, right? That's the stupidest idea, that no one will ever agree to that. But the great thing about working with Danny is you learn that no isn't an option. So what you end up saying is, okay, let me look into that, right? And then you go and start talking to people, and you find that actually people will gather around great ideas. And it was such a great idea that people went, okay, let's do it.
What is your main or few ideas or solutions that you are most proud of it, that you did it?
I'm very proud of the Paralympic ceremonies of London, because I think we were one of the first countries where, for a start, we ring-fenced the budget for them many years before, and agreed that that budget would not be raided if the Olympics needed some more money, because we wanted to do a show that was on an equal stature. We also brought in Bradley Hemmings and Jenny Seeley, who both self-identify as disabled, and unbelievably, too often you were finding able-bodied people artistically directing that show. And again, this speaks to integrity and the world you live in. And I was very proud that we were able to do that, and we felt that that show needed that integrity. More recently, doing the whole City of Culture project and literally seeing a city which had been told it was no good for too long put its shoulders back and its head up and believe in itself again was very moving. And then even when, and then obviously on Eurovision, to do something with colleagues in Ukraine at a time, and unfortunately still a time, when it was so important that people need reminding that what is going on there is wrong and awful, I'm just very proud to be able to do just a small thing with them.
I know that you did this Eurovision Song Contest not only in the simple way that is you are professional, but you also had a big passion to.
Oh yeah.
You still have the passion.
I do.
And I know that you never listened to the songs before the final, and
It was my dream come true. If you look back, and there's interviews and records on it, on people saying, "So what's the show you've always wanted to do?" And immediately I would say Eurovision, and then I would say, "But I will never do it because we'll never win it." I've been a fan of Eurovision all my life, both in terms of its spectacle and its fun and its joy, but also. In the UK, at least, Eurovision is very much part of the gay community, and I'm a proud member of the gay community. And in the UK we call it Gay Christmas.
Really?
Yeah, it's known as Gay Christmas. And so I'd spent all my life going to parties and watching it. So yes, it was professionally, you know, a show and a great show. I love the show, but also I just had that connection to it. And so, again, to be born at the right time when it was possible for me even to say to the BBC, I'd like to run that show.
You need to apply again?
I did apply. Now, now I'm going to tell the truth. I was elbows out, right? I was like, and apparently in the industry in the UK, there were people who were going, I'm not going to go for that show because Martin's just going to be in there. And also in a nice way, they were going, look, he loves Eurovision. For me, it would just be a show, but for him, it will be a dream come true. And I'm immensely grateful to anybody who did that. So yes, I did apply because it's the BBC and there was an interview process, but I made it very, very clear that I wanted that show.
You are really a very lucky person.
I am lucky. I'm lucky. I think some of it is luck, just because these things come up at a certain time. But also, you're only as good as your last show. So if everything I'd done previously hadn't been very good, and they're good because of the teams we work with. And also if people are thinking about hiring you for a job like that, they're going to ask around. And if people are going, don't work with him, he's awful, or he's not a nice person, you know. So I've also taken, you know, the role I have very seriously. And I love my job. I love my job.
Did Sweden took you for some consultations this year?
Yeah, so we always, when we're working on something that is going to have another iteration or happens every year or whatever, the handover of knowledge becomes really important. And the bigger the event, the more formalized it is. So before London, I was in Beijing, and they had a big transfer of knowledge process. We did that for Rio. You come out of a Eurovision and you always spend time with the next city. But I'm always very clear with them. We're going to tell you all our experiences. We're going to be really truthful with you about what worked, what didn't work, or the challenges we had. But it's really important you take what's meaningful to you and discard everything else. Because what we're not saying is this is the way you should do it. We're not saying we got it right, so you should do the same. We're just sharing our experiences in case they are ever any use to you.
Do you keep any secrets only for yourself?
That's an interesting question. I would say creatively, professionally, producerially, no. Because, well, why, right? You need
just to be better.
No, well, no, but you're not better because you keep secrets. You're better because you share everything. Because don't forget, if you're sharing everything, everyone's sharing it with you. And you're going to learn things from them. So I don't buy into that secrecy thing or that there's some secret that I have. I think if I'm being honest with you, there are always quite serious challenges on making work, which are very, very difficult and can affect people. And I don't tend to talk about that, and I don't tend to share them because that's a personal journey.
This is why I'm doing this summit, Ideas and Trends Festival Revolution, because I want to take my friends and experts from all around the world to the Lithuania to help people to grow. And
it's a brilliant thing, and it's an amazingly generous thing. I mean, as well, someone has to be in a place to say, hey, we can be better, right? And someone also has to be in a place to say, we are better if we welcome in friends from afar. We will never answer these questions entirely by ourselves. We are much richer and better if we listen to other people's ideas. So, you know, I just heard the Swedish guy, Stefan, talk about trends. It was fantastic. And I've taken a lot from that. right? I also text everyone I knew and say, hey, you should get this guy in, he's great.
Oh, really?
Well, obviously one of the things I was talking today is that we just announced that we're the production partner for South by Southwest London, which starts in London in June of next year. It's the European edition of South by Southwest. We're really excited by it. But that is a place where people from all over Europe, particularly in this context, we want to gather them, creatives, technical people, AI, you name it, and get them all in a room basically talking about how creativity can change the world, which is what South by Southwest is all about.
From today's point of view, when Eurovision Song Contest in Malmö finished and they had some scandals, a lot of scandals, what you would do differently in your way?
I think that's very difficult to talk about because I think you have to separate the geopolitical issues they were having from the show. The show was good, right? It was technically faultless. It looked fabulous. The Swedish team, who are brilliant, did a brilliant job. Unfortunately, and this happens with global events, you know, regularly, there were geopolitical things outside of their control, which had an effect on that. And I feel for them. I feel for them that they had to do that. But large events, you know, that often happens with them. But you know, I hope people can remove some of that and look at the show and see how good that show was.
You are the winner of BAFTA.
Yes.
Congratulations.
I won a BAFTA.
Can you share?
My mum was very happy.
Really? Oh, of course, of course.
Look, the BAFTAs are the Emmys of the UK, right? They give them for film and they give them for television. And the team won, not I, the team won the BAFTA for Best Live Event of the Year. It's an incredible honour. It's the pinnacle of an award for television. We also, I have to say, won the Royal Television Society award for it as well. So, and a number of others. So, and some craft BAFTAs for the directing team and the design team. So we kind of cleaned up on that show, and so should they. They worked so hard. It was so good, and I'm really glad that the whole team's being recognised for that. Personally, you know, people would be lying if they say they'd never want to win a BAFTA, and the fact that I now have, and on my LinkedIn I can put BAFTA winning. You know, it's like, it's really cool.
Oh, you have so many super titles.
I know, it's like it's super cool. It's yeah, I'm very proud. It was a great night. It was a great full stop to an amazing journey.
Okay, Olympics, Eurovision, BAFTA. Any dreams left? Oh,
loads, loads. I just started a new job as Vice President for Global Live Events for Tate. Tate are a global entertainment events brand company.
It's a huge company.
We run, you know, we do the Taylor Swift tour. We you know, when Rihanna wanted to fly through the Super Bowl, Tate make that happen. And we do a number of stuff all around the world. And when I was looking for what I always call my next adventure, I realized that what I hadn't done a lot is I hadn't worked a lot internationally and I hadn't worked a lot commercially. And I thought in this next chapter, and at my age, possibly the last chapter of my working life, I wanted to do that because it scared me. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what it will require of me. And so on one level, you know, I run the producing part of Tate, where we end-to-end produce from the strategy to the creative to the show to everything. We're pitching for work like other agencies. But the other thing we're doing is we're going to work with organizations who say, we know we need something, but we don't know what it is. And that is such a great moment to start working with people because it means they haven't just defaulted into doing the same thing that some other country does or some other person. They've said, I want to think about this. So you go in and you look at the place and the audience and the reason and the budget. And you try and come up with something that is bespoke to that and of that place, working with people from that place as well. Again, I don't believe in this idea that a load of creatives fly into a place. You know, you go and find the creatives in that place and you support them to do the best work of their lives.
Can you still work with low budgets?
No. Honestly, it's not about the budget. It's about the idea. Yes, I like doing big things. I'm not going to lie. I like working on that scale. I'm unbelievably lucky that I can. But if the idea is there, I'm also lucky now that we can do that too, you know. And sometimes when a smaller place comes and says, look, we want to do something, I don't see why they should be denied the experience and ideas of the team that I can build simply because they're not working on mega budgets, right? Again, you have to have some generosity here, right? And then the other thing I try and do is I try and do things with universities on event management courses, because it's really important that there are lots of people who are going to take my job, and it's really important that those people are there. And it's important to the whole industry. So we have to inspire and build the pipeline, and we also have to make sure that that pipeline is diversifying, right? There are still too many. No, I'll put it another way. Too often you're seeing only white men, right? And that's changed over the years. You're seeing more women, more different color faces, more different types of people, but we have to diversify the industry still.
I want to ask you about the impact of several things. For example, what the impact of the solution that Queen Elizabeth did this show on the Olympics with the helicopter? What impact of his... she became more popular?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well...
And the impact of Eurovision for Liverpool, for a city?
I mean, impact is what it's all about, right? The people at South by Southwest say it's what happens to you after you've been to South by, because it's about what you've learned and how you then translate it into your work. And I imagine it's the same with you here. The people, what they're learning today, it's how they translate that into their work. I think on those two examples, what the Crown and I think the Queen was very good at was recognizing that she had to constantly reconnect with new audiences and young audiences to keep the institution that is the monarchy relevant. And I think she was very clever at that. So when Danny suggested this and they realized this was going to happen in front of the world, they knew that a whole load of people, as long as we got it right, would have a smile on their face, gasp, and kind of fall in love with her all over again, which is what they did. And also a lot of younger audiences went, oh my God, that's not a stuffy thing. For Liverpool, it's different. Liverpool was the European capital of culture in 2008, and they did that very well, and it really changed the city and the trajectory of the city. The city is very proud that it's a cultural city. It invests, you know, even now when financially times are hard around the world, there is a city who has not cut its culture because they know that culture is fundamental to life, and loads more cities could learn from it. What Eurovision did, and I think it's good periodically that cities do major events, is that it reminded everyone that Liverpool is a great place for major events. It reminded everyone that Liverpool is a great place. Also, when you're working on that scale, you have to bring the city together administratively in a way that doesn't usually happen. So, you know, we'd have monthly meetings. There were probably 45 different agencies represented there, from the police to the planners, to the transport, to the creatives, to the tourism, to the marketeers, to the venues, to the hotels. And they all got to spend time with each other because life is busy. And so that helps a city find itself, bring it together, know what it wants to do. We also know, because it released an economic impact report, that it's had a profound effect on their tourism. And you have to remember that something like 51% of the income of that city is from tourism and leisure. And of course, therefore, during COVID, it was hit very hard. And so this massive global advert that basically said Liverpool is fun and we are open was a brilliant way to encourage more people to come to Liverpool.
Nice. So, but you didn't answer to the question about the teapots.
I don't. I had some cups. Actually, famously, I don't drink tea.
Really?
Yes, although I'm from the East End of London. If you grow up in an East End family in London, there is a pot of tea on the stove all day, and it's there for ages, and you can sort of stand your spoon up in it, and it's horrible. And so from a very young age, I just thought, oh, it used to have this sort of oily film on it. And I can't look at the stuff. Definitely can't drink it. I'm a coffee person. So yes, unusually for an Englishman and a proud European, I can't drink tea.
Okay, but how is to be next to the royal family?
It's amazing. It's you know, I like the institution of the monarchy. I think there were good things about it. I went to a comprehensive school, a normal school in Essex. I was the first generation of my family to go to university, and to have a career where, you know, you have a CBE and you meet the Queen and you do things is very nice for me. I think it's very important to my parents, and a lot of the time, actually, that's what it's about for me. They invested a lot of time, patience, and energy and money in my education, and also let me, you know, if your kid comes to you and says, Mum, Dad, I want a career in the arts or culture, it's quite a big thing for them to say, oh, okay then, and not go, but why can't you be a doctor or a lawyer or a, you know, and my parents went, yeah, go and do it.
What's your background in education?
I studied theatre for my degree, and then I did a theatre master's degree, but never in performing. I was always interested in the anthropological approach to theatre, and increasingly what that meant was I was interested in producing, directing, writing, so it was never on stage. And then when I came out of doing that, I found the events industry, which put everything together for me, particularly in that first part, because I was doing a lot of free events for the city, and I like the democracy of that, and I like the way it brings people together. So yeah, it's a theatre making background that I'm from.
Okay, doing big events, and now going into the concerts or festivals, culture festivals. Yeah, what you are taking as a main goal for yourself or vision?
Well, it's not myself or a vision. The great thing about the arts festivals and Hull City of Culture, that was a 365-day culture festival of all different forms of creative expression. We did the same thing with the Birmingham Cultural Festival that went alongside the Commonwealth Games. What I love is the ability to tell the story of a place. I think that really engages those local audiences and then engages other audiences because they're engaged. The trick is that there are dominant stories within a city that they all have, be it, I don't know, the effect of the Second World War or their industry. And we should celebrate those, but we need to find the new stories as well. And the biggest joy I've ever had in working with cities is finding those as yet untold stories. So we do a lot of work where we send artists into communities simply to draw their stories out of them. There was a story in Hull that everyone believed that in the middle of the night, a big horse-drawn carriage came through the streets out of the mist and went into the park. So we made that happen. We did that. And it was amazing because people saw their stories come to life. And in Birmingham, we're dealing a lot of music and new music, and the artists that were from that place. So I get a real kick out of that, of finding the new stories or the untold stories of a place and bringing that to life.
You know, I just came up with an idea how to bring you one more time to Lithuania.
How?
We are a very small country. We will never do Olympics, but we have a chance to win a Eurovision.
Yes.
If you will give us an advice, and if we will win, you will be the first person to whom I will call.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that because it's, you know, it's only a matter of time. You know, I don't think there's any formula to winning Eurovision. You know, I think a lot of different things come together with the voice and the song and the person and their reputation, and, you know, and the moment and the time. But it will happen. It will happen one day.
How?
How do you win Eurovision?
Yeah.
I think if anybody knew that, they'd be a millionaire. I think this is what I've learned. I think it's about the voice. I think you need a great, powerful, live voice. And remember that those people are doing 12 shows in 5 days, so you need stamina. And you need to be fit because you need to sing and move and dance. So I think, you know, in a UK context, musical theatre is a great place to look, because people who do musical theatre, A, they have great voices, but they do 9 shows a week. So they have stamina and they dance. And the good thing about musical theatre in the West End and other places is there are a whole slew of younger musicals around now, you know, and Juliet and others, where younger musical theatre stars, it's not just older people. So I think that's a good place to look for your act. You need a great song, but I don't think the song is the be-all and end-all of it. I think it's the way you stage it. And then I think it's about how you engage with audiences, and this is where social media comes in. And the work you do running up to it and coming out. There's many stories about acts that people have just fallen in love with because they're just genuine, or they're fun, or they're accessible. So somewhere in all of that is the magic mix, but I still think that it is a game of chance. So really all you can do is say, look, do we love our song? Yes, we do. Do we love the person who's singing? Yes, we do. Do we think they've done a great performance? Yes, they have. Then it doesn't matter if they didn't win, right? And that's the great thing about Eurovision. The thing about Eurovision is once a year, nearly every country in Europe gets to say, hello world, right? And actually, countries like Lithuania stand with total equality on the same stage as the bigger countries like Germany, right? And I think that's great.
Yeah, we are very happy and proud.
Yeah. And you beat us this year.
Yeah.
14th is not bad out of what, 36? I think everyone has an equal chance in that show. And I think ultimately people respond to different things. And, you know, congratulations, Switzerland. Let's all go to Geneva or Bern next year, is it?
It was your favorite song?
Now
song or artist?
Let me remember. I liked Switzerland, actually. I did like the winner. I thought it was a great song, and I thought it was really well staged. It was super fun. It was very modern. So I did like Switzerland from the beginning. The one that I also liked, didn't get through the semi-finals. I thought that Australian song was terrific, absolutely terrific. And Australia keep getting robbed because their song last year in Liverpool was fantastic.
They always do.
They do a great
shows.
song, and they deserve to win one day. But this year, because also I think it was their first entry that had Aboriginal sounds and language in it, I thought it was a great song, really great song. I think there was Iceland or something, which was a really good bop as well, if I remember rightly.
I liked Ukraine's very much, and
Yes.
I think they had a wrong number to perform at third number.
Yeah, I don't believe in this.
Really?
It's where you
Really?
perform. No,
Oh.
I don't. I think this, if it's a great song and a great performance, people react to it. I really don't think it's where you perform in the show.
And when you are watching with your friends this final, what you are discussing? Are you talking on the songs?
You don't want to know. Listen, I mean, like many other people, I gather with my friends. I was back. So my friends, Steve and Steve, have a party every year, and it's super fun, and we all get terribly drunk. And of course, we broke last year because I said to them, you know, I'll host the Eurovision party this year. It's going to be an actual Eurovision. So they were all there. So we had the party again this year, and I kept making people say it's not as good as last year. It's not true, by the way, but it just became a running joke that someone had to say it every 5 minutes. Listen, we discuss the music and the fashion, and then more wine is drunk and more wine is drunk, and ultimately it's a bunch of gays in a room doing what bunches of gays in room do when they watch television. So everyone will know, you know.
What do you think?
Totally unrepeatable.
What do you think about your performance? England's performance.
Ollie, I thought he was great. I really liked the song. I thought the staging of it was really unusual. I think, again, 18th is not a bad placement at all. Yeah, I think it was good. I think it was good.
It's so nice to have you here.
It's great to be here, thank you.
Thank you for coming, and I'm pretty sure, I hope so, that I will meet you once again. If not in Vilnius, maybe in London or somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. We're friends now.
Yeah.
No escape.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
And thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, to press like, to share, to ask, to comment. We are always waiting for your support. Thank you.